right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jan Barlow, and we are here for our HR Disruptor live stream event. And we are so glad to see you all today. Welcome. Today, my guests are the one and only Paul Magistri from Brain Health Sciences, and of course, Dr. Patrick Porter, the founder of BrainTap Technologies. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us, Jen.
Very excited. A shout out to Stephanie Perry of CT Productions for introducing us. She knew exactly what we were looking for when it came to partners and collaborators for the HR Disruptor Summit, and people who are disrupting their own industry and also bringing to the table unique services and products that you all are a part of. So thank you so much for being here today. I want to first share, Paul, I am just, well, you both, our conversations that we've had the last couple of times, 2 or 3 times, have been amazing. And I wish we should have recorded them and been able to put those out on the internet to share with others, because we just pretty much blew up Zoom over the last few times, talking about everything brain and geeking out on neuroplasticity and just the evolution of where we are from human beings and how much we want to know and learn about the brain. So, but Paul, if you would, I love the fact that you've been in the health and fitness industry for over 20 years and your commitment to personal and professional development. If you would share a little bit of how you got into brain health sciences and what really jump-started your business.
Well, it's really almost, thank you so much for having me, Jan, and it's just an honor to spend time with you and be a part of what you're doing. And I will tell you, our walk really started for me almost 40 years ago. I started out as a guy that, they told me to go to school, get a good education and work hard. And I didn't really come from money, so I tried to do that. I went to college and found myself in the financial industry as a certified estate planner and by day, but at night, I was pursuing my rodeo career and trying to be a professional bull rider. And what I was learning very quickly was that not only in business, but also in sport, having a good understanding of what was going on between my 2 ears was a very big indicator of the result I would have. We would fast forward then through business about another 20 years. And I was sitting on my couch with my wife right before all this craziness happened in the world and with the virus. And I was asking myself, we've helped a lot of people through the years, but people get stuck in the driveway. Whether it's they're improving their relationship with their spouse or education or their business or their faith walk, whatever it may be, their personal health. And we have the information. It's all easy to obtain. It's all out there. But yet when we obtain that information, we go to that seminar, we listen to that Zoom meeting, what prevents people from actually, embracing it and doing something about it the next day? And I was reflecting on my experience in college. I used to come home and go, wow, why can't I just take that piece of information, listen to my professor, put it in my ears, go to sleep, wake up and pass my test? And so understanding how the brain worked, understanding neuroplasticity, understanding that it is our brain is this amazing pharmacy that can help us get from where we are to where we want to go was really the beginning of the creation of Brain Health Sciences and the partnership in the technology of BrainTap.
Well, I love how you described that Brain Health Sciences is the footlocker, right, of the brain, of that right there explains it all. When you think about how to compare businesses and what you all provide at Brain Health Sciences, I love that.
Yeah, we started, my wife and I decided to start this company with the intention to become as you mentioned, the footlocker of brain health. And this is our marquee concept, but we want to have a very well-rounded total solution for people to have optimized brain health.
Thank you so much. That's a great story. And Dr. Porter, what I love about your story is that it started when you were 12 and how that has brought you to many many levels of success. And when you talk about, especially at a young age, and being able to visualize, that you were taught how to visualize, if you would share a little bit about that story.
Well, my dad was a very gifted alcoholic, so he got some help through something called technology-driven meditation. And he taught us kids, there were 9 of us. So he thought, hey, if it's good enough for me, and it actually stopped him. He didn't drink the rest of his life. He was free from alcohol, and he had a daily practice. And so we saw the change, the transformation. And then he told us, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. And for me, I wasn't really interested in school. I was interested in sports. So he taught me how to do it for sports. And I really excelled. I got a college scholarship for track. And then really wanted it for football, but when you get injured, they stop calling, especially a rotator cuff injury. So I went to school for electronics because that was my love. But I every day I practiced some form of visualization, relaxation technique. In fact, to the degree that what you're talking about at 12 is I bought an alarm clock, or I asked for it for Christmas. My dad got it for me. It just came out. It was a cassette that played for your alarm, so you could put your own affirmations on it. So I woke up every morning listening to positive affirmations, and I would change them every month. I'd sit down with my dad. We'd put down my goals for the month. We'd make them into affirmations, and I still do something similar to that every day, even till today. So it's a practice that helps me. And I would have probably been, if I was born in a different age, and my mother wasn't health conscious, I would have been on every drug you could think of, because I had all the problems. But I became an honor roll student, good grades. Of course, I actually have 2 PhDs. And the one that we talk about, of course, is the psychology one. So that's even better. The others in Christian sciences. So, but in the process, what I'm always interested in is how can something happened to me. I became a different person within a year. I wasn't the troublemaking kid. In fact, my teachers, I still remember them talking to my mother saying, "Who's possessed Patrick?" He's not the same kid, because I looked for trouble. I actually woke up every morning thinking that God had one plan in his mind, and that was to destroy my life. And it was really, I was doing it from the inside out. And as soon as I took back control, I realized that there was a conspiracy for me to succeed. And even against all of my worst wishes, in my belief system, they put me in the right place to do it. And really, what I tell people when I speak, and we've sold millions and millions of different products over the years, is I say, one of you in this audience could have the influence over millions of people, because we're now in 120 countries. We have 2,300 clinics. We have millions of products out there. And that's all because my dad decided to get help from his stress. Wow.
And that just from a bigger picture, we just really don't realize how much influence we have on others and lead by example. And it could just very well someone observing us from afar or hearing a recording like this. I mean, that's the bigger picture. And I just can't imagine a better legacy for your dad than to really still you're living his legacy, right? I mean, you picked up and created your own legacy through his, really.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where the one that does it the fastest, maybe not the best, is the one who wins. Because my dad, about 5 years after I was professionally doing it, I'd written a book called Awaken the Genius. And he said, I really want to write a book. I want to use this story. I said, you can't, Dad, it's in my book. You want to write this? No, you can't, Dad, it's in my book. Basically, I said, sorry, I stole all your stuff because you weren't doing anything with it. So I'm going to start using it. So.
That's cute. That's cute. I love what you just married, what Paul said, what he was thinking, back in college. How do we take that information in the brain, right, and be able to change ourselves? And what you just pretty much put the work into it was the decision, right, that you made, Dr. Porter, about I'm going to do something different with my life, or I'm going to use this information and change, right?
Yes. Right. I mean, it's a daily practice of some form that's positive. We're not going to eliminate stress from our lives. And once I realized that, but you can change your behaviors. Basically, we were really big on AA. So we would use the Serenity Prayer every morning, that because I tried to change everybody else but myself, until you realize, hey, I don't have control of them. But it was really weird when I changed myself, everybody else changed. It was really weird. You know, that's kind of what happened.
Isn't it? And it is so amazing, because that's when you're really getting it, is when you do the change yourself. You know, we've always heard that saying, oh, well, you got to start with yourself first. Well, what does that mean? Right? What does that mean? But when you literally start to harness your thoughts and how you think about things, and your perception, change the perception of things, then you really get to see the change, right? You know, I think that what you had mentioned, and especially Paul mentioned it too, you know, nothing is new, right? What we think about, we bring about, right? What you think of manifests. And when we think about stress, like you said, Dr. Porter, we can't get away from it. It is what it is. Especially since COVID. I mean, as I shared with you earlier, feeling so overwhelmed, sitting in front of the computer for 4 hours or 6 hours and forgetting that, you know, oh, I gotta get up and, you know, get something to eat or walk away from it. You start to feel so overwhelmed that you don't know how to handle the stress, right? And we're so used to hearing about stress, that it's such a common word that it really doesn't affect us anymore. So we can't eliminate stress, but what do you say that we can reprogram our brain on how we perceive it?
Right. Well, the reality is that we have electrical system in our body, and most people don't realize what it is. Most people have heard the term fight or flight, but I want you to think about it more as the survivor brain. We have in that brain is on when we have chronic low level stress, and that was before COVID. So people were running around stressed out. It's almost like that movie with Bruce Willis where he says, I see dead people and they don't know they're dead. I walk around, I see stressed out people and they don't know they're stressed. You know, so and really, that's really why we created everything we've done, is because we wanted a simple, easy way to do that. And we have to turn on the thriving brain. That's the electrical system. So if you think about it, in the science terms, it's called the sympathetic system. We need that. We only learn and grow and develop through our sympathetic system. And then we have our parasympathetic. That's where we rest, digest, rebuild, recoup. If Paul was on a bull, he'd want the next day to really recover, right? Because the body is sore. Now, there's another system that unfortunately people use think of it like your backup generator. It's the hormonal system in our biological system. And some people on the call might even have had this happen, or a family member. It's when your adrenals go out. They say you have adrenal exhaustion, adrenal stress.
Adrenal burnout, right?
Yep, it's burnout, because the electrical system is finite, right? We can take supplements, we can do it, and I'm a big believer in that. I mean, if you saw my kids often say, Dad, if somebody broke into your hotel room, they'll think you're dying of something because of all the supplements. I'm a really big on supplementation, because I know you can't get it from the materials we're eating. But besides that, I know that if I'm not relaxed, I'm not metabolizing those supplements, because our body only has the capacity to do one of those two things. It can either be in fight or flight, or it can be rest and digest. It never is right in the middle now what happens is, if we can regulate that, so we kind of have a 50-50 time for that, that means if we get stressed, like let's say that somebody tells us we have a deadline for tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we need to have this done, and you know you're going to be putting in an all-nighter. Well, you can get stressed about it, or you can get busy about it, you know. And if you get busy about it, as soon as you get to that burnout point, you do some kind of exercise to offload that stress. If you don't, God forbid, whoever walks in your path, you know, somebody who loves you, that's going to take you back, you're going to lose it on them. And then you're going to feel better because you just offloaded all that stress, but they're going to feel bad. And then that's going to be a cycle that isn't good for anyone. But if we learn to basically build in our capacity, which means have a practice every day, whatever that is. Now, some people think exercise is that. And I have to tell you that exercise is, and it isn't. Because when you exercise, you're also stressing out the brain and the body, which is what we want to do. But if you just go right from that to another stress, you have to have a time to recover. That's why even the professional athletes we work at, they will do a brain tapping session or a relaxation session, like athletes do, where they go in the ice bath or something. They're going to do something to get their biological system back under control.
You know,
Absolutely.
Paul, I was going to ask you, Paul, when you talked about work related and the statistics of, you know, what people are dealing with stress previously to COVID, and then knowing afterwards that really what led you to starting Brain Health Sciences. What were some of the statistics that you were looking at in your experience with business?
Well, I was really, my wife and I really embraced the concept of what was going on in businesses around us. When we started seeing the research of 4 out of 5 people working at home literally being miserable because they couldn't shut it off. Like you would think, well, I get to work at home. This is great. Well, yeah, but they couldn't shut it down. They had to balance now more than they ever had before. They had to balance their marriage, maybe their children, their family members, their boss, all the chaos through the house, all at the same time. Whereas at work, at least they can separate it a little bit. But turning it off, after their work was done was very, very difficult. And the other thing that we saw a lot too is that mental health is now becoming more and more important to people in terms of their decision making in business. In other words, they want to work with a company that cares about their brain. And we talked about it earlier, Dr. Porter did, about fitness. I mean, we go to the gym to work out and your muscles only grow to the degree that you work them. Well, your brain is the most important muscle we have. It really controls everything. But yet we spend very little time doing things nutritionally, as Doctor said, but also in the recovery stages. And what I found is that brain entrainment has puts people in a position a little bit different than ever before, not only in the recovery perspective that Dr. Porter talks about, but what really led us to start Brain Health Sciences, which was providing a bridge between the disconnect of all the things we know, like you mentioned, what you think about, you bring about all these things. Well, we spent a lifetime in personal development, but my son still triggered me. There was work situations that would still trigger me. And even though I knew the correct response, even though I knew the right way to go about it, I sometimes didn't respond the correct way. And it got away from me. But what brain entrainment does, what paying attention to working out that muscle in between your ears does, is it takes it from an idea or a knowledge of something and makes it something that becomes your internal everyday response. It happens without you thinking about it. It becomes a part of who you are. And that's really when change really happens. We can all buy into a concept or a desire or a goal, but change really happens when it becomes internalized and a part of what I call your everyday DNA. In other words, when I don't have to convince you, Jan, to brush your teeth in the morning. No one has to say, okay, Paul, before you go outside, put your shoes on. I do it without thinking. And these habits, these responses, these goals that we have in terms of improving in these areas only happen when we train our brain to make it a positive and a consistent response, because we are responding one way or another, and we are teaching our brain to either do it right or do it a way we're not as happy with.
That's right. And, I like when we were talking earlier about people saying, oh, well, I mean, the excuses that people have for not working out physically, right? I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I mean, when it comes to the importance of the brain, and especially in the last probably 10 to 15 years, when more and more information that we're getting about how important the brain is, we're getting more knowledge about how the brain works, how effective it is, how we can change it. But I love when we were talking about people's excuses. Oh, well, I don't have the time. Okay. I love how you explained it to me is you got to sleep, right? Yeah. Okay. It's a plug and play. Like you can do this while you're relaxing, right? Taking 15 minutes to relax at the end of the day. Or you can do it as a refresher, right? In the afternoon during the day, like get up from your computer and chill for about 10, 15 minutes, right? If you could share a little bit more about that, I'd appreciate that, Paul.
Well, I'll be honored, Jen. I'll tell you the brilliance of Dr. Porter's invention within BrainTap, and there's a lot of brilliance in it, but for me, the brilliance is the ease of it. It doesn't, I tell people, it doesn't need you. Brain
I
health,
love it. That's it. No participation needed.
right, brain health science is bringing you a technology called BrainTap that does everything we've talked about. Will help in all the areas we've talked about in terms of neuroplasticity and all firing the brain, and again, all the things that we talk about. Dr. Porter eloquently breaks down for you. But the reality is I like to make things cowboy easy, right, to understand. And so here it is. You have to sleep at some point. So put the headset on or put your earbuds on right as you go to bed, because the process doesn't need you. It will affect your brain. And not doing so, saying, people will say, well, yeah, I know I need to take care of myself. Well, that's not doing brain tap for your brain, not making a part of your ritual, because we all have rituals. And so you do something right as you put your, head on your pillow, whether that's watch TV or whatever it is. A lot of people listen to music. And then you do something when you wake up, say your cup of coffee. Well, for me, I listen to it. It's the last thing I hear. I listen to it when I go to bed. And I literally have it on my bedstand, and I put it on and I listen to it before I would ever have a cup of coffee or matcha tea or whatever it is I'm going to have. It is more important than anything else I can do. And not doing so is like, and I'm not pro-drug or anything, but if my doctor came to me and said, Paul, you have high blood pressure through the roof, and if you don't do this, this is going to happen, then I would probably start taking it and start working on maybe getting off of it and changing my lifestyle, but I would move immediately, right? And so I believe that what this technology has done is made it easy for anybody, anywhere, anytime to take care of the most important organ they have in their body.
And that's what's really amazing is if people realize your brain, and Dr. Porter, if you could add, I mean, the brain is like the CPU of your whole entire body. Is that not true, Dr. Porter?
Well, that's true. It's the instruction. They call it the default mode network. So 95% of the time we're being ran by what most people call the subconscious. I like to call it the other than conscious, because it's conscious. It's just not, you're not aware of it. And those behaviors could be killing you. So you want to start looking at those behaviors. If stress really is responsible for 95% of all the illnesses, according to the National Institute of Health, then that seems like that should be the first thing. The problem is, as we said earlier, people don't understand stress because it's been homogenized now. Everybody thinks it's stressful, but really, I mean, it's showing up as symptoms, right? In the brain and the thyroid and the heart and the immune system and the body fat, all of these things, that's where stress shows up. But where it shows up at work is in the hippocampus. So I'll get a little science for you. What happens is when you're stressed, your hippocampus actually can shrink 1/4 of an inch a year. They've actually done autopsies on people when they died. They had no more than a brain stem, and they were still functioning just like they were normal. So if you think that's not possible, it is highly possible. And so, but what happens is you don't have a lot of choices. As you get stressed out, all your choices are limited. And you know how animals are when you trap them. You get more reactive and you get more angry, you get more upset. That's one of the main reasons we did brain tap. You don't need to learn a new process. What you need is a new process. So we figured that out by using basically how our body responds in nature, right? If you can go to the park or go down to the ocean or go to a mountain and you find yourself relaxing, that's kind of what you're going to do with brain tap. You just put it on and it's going to take you there. It's going to mimic nature, and your body's going to follow that through something in science called entrainment. And so we're calling it brainwave entrainment, but that's the only part of the body that entrains the rest of the body. So
I love that.
It all starts with that.
Plug and play. That's what I love when Paul, when our last discussion, oh, wow, I love this. We have one of our attendees. Change is not a 4-letter word, but awareness of what's happening to us, around us, etc., is the start. I love it. And somebody, a fan that has tried brain tap says seems to help them become more aware and trigger their awareness, and they're doing it more often. Thank you so much, Ricky, for adding that. I appreciate you. When you, Dr. Porter, talked about the stress and I was given pretty much, I was told when I was going through my transition, probably back in 2007, 2008, that I had, the hormone you were talking about,
Like
that affects the different hormones.
thyroid.
Yes. Well, it was the, oh gosh, of course, I just forgot it. I need my brain tap. It was, I was so stressed that my hormones, it wasn't the thyroid.
Cortisol levels or something.
Yeah. Yeah. When the doctor says, okay, gets up, the first time I talked to the doctor, he got up and he hugged me and he said, "Thank you so much for coming." And I was like, okay. And he said, "Let me show you something. Here are the levels of your cortisone levels," right? He says, "This is normal. This is above normal. This is below normal. You don't even make the chart." And when somebody says, especially a physician says to you, "I don't know how you got here, and I don't know why you're still alive." So you really, when people talk about stress, we think heart attack, right? I was purely functioning barely, but sleeping 12 hours a day, getting up for a couple of hours, and then having to lay down, right? So it's a real, and I've run across a lot more people that are becoming physically, stress is physically manifesting itself. And it's not just heart attack people, it's every day. And I can't imagine, doctor, what you were saying about the people that died, that their brain actually shrunk.
Yes. Yeah. They've actually had people that they were perfectly normal. They do autopsies on them and they only have brain stems. So, I mean, what we can do with a little is a lot. One of the things I want to point out for everybody is, back when most of our policies for the workplace were created, we were in factories working and sweating and doing things. Now our job is all mental, but we haven't changed a lot of those processes or policies. And I really think that this next 10 years is going to be equivalent to the 70s when exercise became normal. Like Paul had pointed out, everybody knows what a bicep and a tricep is. By the end of 2030, everyone's going to know what gamma is, GABA,
Beta, right.
This is the time of the brain, because our workplace needs to shift to give people brain breaks instead of coffee breaks. I mean, you can still have a coffee if you want. I'm not against coffee, but like Paul said, you should be activating your system by its system rather than by the coffee in the morning. If somebody stumbles into the kitchen and they can't even say hello until they have their coffee, then we need to do something with they have a very tired out electrical system or nervous system. So that's the key here, is let's get the body in shape to handle the stresses of our new reality that we live in.
That is so true. And Paul, when you started Brain Health Sciences as well, and feeling that need, right, you felt called. And again, that's like me 10 years ago, starting with creating your next better job fit, because it's about literally, we got to start using our brain, because that's where everything starts, right? First in thought, then in form. So, we're moving out and evolving from this old mindset or 16th century linear mindset, because we live in quantum times and our brains are living in quantum times, right? But we haven't caught up to using the brain to its capacity of quantum times, correct?
Absolutely. Right. I embraced the concept of nutrition, back in the 80s, and was on the forefront of the portion of leaders that was taking this concept of, a lot of healthcare providers talked about snake oil to, mainstream, intravenous medicine that was not secondary, but a part of regular therapies. And I believe in corporate America, we are on a cusp of a turn where, if you go back 15 years ago, corporate wellness was really trying to figure out how to lower costs and increase productivity by making the person more well, get people quit smoking, losing weight, becoming more fit, gyms starting happening to be a part of, a build out in a company's, corporate headquarters. Those type of things started becoming the norm. And now I think what's happening is the conversation of, how can we make people happier? How can we have them have a better quality of life mentally? How can they become more productive? And something that's not being talked a lot about is how do we protect? And I want to really double line protect. How can we protect our high performers? Because high performers, in my mind, are really, at the highest of jeopardy. Because I have a T-shirt that I'm actually going to frame, because it was absolutely everything I was taught and everything that was wrong with my walk in terms of how I ended up in business. I got to my goal, but I have a T-shirt that says "I'll sleep when I'm dead." How wrong could have that possibly been?
Right.
But we were raised that way, and high performers at work, while they're the ones being recognized, while those are the ones getting the raises, why that's who the company's paying attention to. They need to understand that they are that bomb is ticking. That bomb is ticking, and we can protect them neurologically. We can make them more productive by taking 15 minutes, either in the morning or at night, and it'd be amazing if they did both, or even midday, and made it easy for them, not just at work, but also on their own at home. And that's also the brilliance of what Dr. Porter has done, is we have a system to definitely make it possible for everyone to touch it at work. There's no reason why they can't touch it at work, but also to be able to have maintenance outside of the gym, if you will.
That's right. And, I know that you and Dr. Porter, I know that Brain Health Sciences is working with small, medium, large companies to jumpstart those programs within their own companies, but also individuals. So if you wanted to type in your information there, Paul, that people can email you or contact you.
Absolutely. We'll do that now. And I'll just say that they can go to, and for everyone being on this call, we're very excited about everyone being on this. And again, Jen, just honored to spend time with you and really excited to be a part of what you're doing. We have it up there for everyone, but brainhealthsciences.com / trial will give them a 99-cent trial. They'll get to use it for 15 days. And really start to understand. And what I love about this concept is in anything that you're learning, there's always explanation, right? Well, you can literally go to sleep tonight, hit intro to Brain Tap, put it in your ears, and you're going to be good tomorrow. Like, you're not going to have a confusion about, well, what is it exactly? How does it exactly work? What parts of my brain? What's it going to do? How you're going to know that tomorrow morning.
I love it.
Part, and you experience that too, I believe. And that's what's really cool about this technology, and why Brain Health Sciences is so excited to provide this trial to anyone who would like to have it.
Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate that gift. And also, Dr. Porter, any last words or comments about Brain Tap and what you wish to provide to the world?
Well, I just want to let everyone know that there is a way out of your stress. It's not avoiding it. It's learning to increase your capacity to handle and manage the stress. It's like the old saying, you don't pray to God to take away your troubles, you pray for the strength to handle them. And this is one of those, it answered my prayer. So I'm hoping that it answers some of the people who watch this video, and they can, and like Paul said, give it a shot tonight, put it in your ears and see if you wake up in the morning refreshed, revitalized, and renewed, like, the 99% of people that use Brain Tap.
I love it. Thank you so much, Paul, Dr. Porter. Thank you so much for really living your legacy and bringing that to life here today. And I appreciate your time. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have our replay, probably be doing that next week. But here is the one last opportunity to check it out at brainhealthsciences.com / trial. And you can get your trial today. So I would just jump on that. It really changed me after the first time I used it. I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it myself. So again, thank you so much for your time today. And everybody, see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.